When their best friend is captured by a fisherman, a great white shark, an octopus and a sea turtle team up to create a special suit that will allow them to rise to the surface to rescue him. Today we're going to recap the story of the movie, Seafood, from 2011. During a chase in the middle of the ocean, Pup, a baby of a rare species of shark, trains his speed underwater, but ends up being cornered by Julius and gets quite a fright. Concerned for his friend, the great white shark goes to check that he's okay, and they are both amazed to come across a beautiful coral reef, which is located on the outskirts of Australia. While exploring the area, Pup finds some shark eggs of his own species and ends up getting so distracted that he doesn't notice the presence of two humans approaching him. When he realizes that the boys are planning to attack the reef, the young shark tries to stop them and is almost captured. Meanwhile, Julius is hunting some fish for food and ends up injuring himself when he collides with a wrecked boat. Just then, the shark hears Pup calling for help and swims quickly towards him. By this time, the humans have left and Julius finds the baby unconscious on the seabed. When he wakes up, Pup feels bad that he wasn't able to stop those kids from stealing his brother's eggs. So, in an attempt to cheer Pup up, Julius decides to take him out to dinner and presents the menu so that his friend can choose his meal. However, no matter what Julius does, nothing can cheer Pup up. A few meters away, on a submerged base, a human couple is being watched by a small octopus, who is observing a rocket launch on TV. At that moment, Pup appears and they both start chatting until they are spotted by the human, who becomes desperate when she discovers that she is being watched. The pair quickly flee the place and have no idea that, nearby, the ocean is being polluted by a factory that pours several liters of oil into the water every day. The pollution around the facility endangers the lives of the marine animals that live nearby, as they are the main creatures affected by the waste that is dumped into the sea. The only ones not directly harmed by this plastic waste are abyssal fish, as they live in the depths of the ocean. The truth is that for Morea and her evil army, oil spilled into the water is something of an advantage, because soon the whole ocean will be dark and they will become the kings of all the creatures that inhabit that reef. When he realizes that Pup is sad, the octopus tries to cheer him up and shows him an old shipwreck, where he hides the vehicle he built to travel quickly across the ocean. In an attempt to show the young shark how that underwater boat works, Octo decides to take him for a ride. However, during the journey, the vehicle's wheels come loose and the pair almost have an accident. So the octopus has to use its own body as a parachute to stop them getting hurt. Luckily, they both manage to escape without any injuries and Octo claims to have another idea to make his vehicle work. That afternoon, Julius receives a visit from Myrtle the tortoise and is excited to hear stories of his old friend's adventures, since they haven't met for a long time. Myrtle then takes the shark and his henchmen to the surface and tells them that there's a whole world out there that they've never experienced. While looking at the beach, Julius spots a chicken and swims towards it, because ever since he saw a picture of a roast chicken on the menu he found at the bottom of the sea, the shark has been eager to know what it tastes like. However, as he approaches the beach and is about to snatch Heather, a coconut falls on Julius's head and he is unable to complete his hunt. Frustrated, he returns to the ocean and Myrtle is visited by a stingray, who claims that she has failed in her mission. Spinny says that, since it hasn't been able to feed on land animals, the shark will devour all the fish that live in that part of the ocean. However, the turtle says that, unlike his father, Julius cares about the other creatures and doesn't prove to be a threat. The next morning, as usual, the shark teaches Pup how to hunt and asks him to hold his fin while he chases a fish across the ocean. However, Pup says he doesn't want to become a hunter and, when he leaves, Julius continues to go after his prey. Seeing the little fish being chased, Sting decides to swim into the realm of abyssal creatures and comes across dozens of crustaceans. When they find the invader, the crabs unite to attack him, but are prevented by the eel who runs the place. Later, the stingray goes to meet Pup and says that he wants to show him something. Myrtle overhears the conversation and advises Pup not to accompany Spinny, but the little shark lets his curiosity get the better of him and decides to accompany him. That day, while trying to catch his lunch, Julius bites a hook and is caught by the fisherman. The shark then falls into a fishing boat and has to flee from the humans, who try to attack him with large machetes. Looking around, Julius sees countless pieces of shark that have been sliced off and despairs. Luckily, a big wave hits the boat before the fisherman can catch him and Julius is thrown back into the water. Although he managed to save himself, the animal is deeply saddened because he now knows what humans do to the creatures of his species. During his adventure across the ocean, Pup is accompanied by Myrtle, who decides to follow him to make sure nothing bad happens to him. To his surprise, the little one is guided to the surface, where he meets the kids who stole his brother's eggs. Immediately, Pup asks for the turtles' help to rescue them, but Myrtle says there's nothing they can do and blames Sting for putting crazy ideas into Pup's head. Since Myrtle refuses to help him, the little one asks Octo to help him save his family, but the octopus says that this is a very dangerous mission and it's not worth risking so much to rescue those eggs. Furious that his friends refuse to help him, Pup leaves and meets Sting, who once again asks Pup to follow him. Through a hole in the ship's hull, the stingray asks the little one to listen in on Myrtle and Octo's conversation. In doing so, he discovers that he can breathe out of water and feels cheated. Later, spotting Sting swimming alone in the ocean, Myrtle approaches him and begins to suspect that he is up to something. However, the stingray tries to change the subject and the turtle orders him to stay away from Pup. Just then, Julius appears and asks what they're talking about with Pup. When he discovers that Sting has taken the little guy to the surface to get him to retrieve the stolen eggs, the shark is furious and attacks him. In an attempt to avoid being devoured, the stingray reveals that Pup knows he can breathe out of the water and is on his way to the beach. The sun is already setting when the baby reaches its destination and uses its large fins to drag itself across the sand. After discovering the truth, Julius and Myrtle immediately go to Octo's hideout to ask the octopus to build a machine that will take them to the surface. While Julius distracts a diver so that Octo can take the machine back to his lab, Pup realizes that the teenagers have left the warehouse and crawls into the hiding place where they keep the fish eggs. When he finally finds his brothers, the little one can't contain his joy, but he soon discovers that it won't be easy to get them out, as the humans have just arrived at the warehouse. In an attempt to hide, the baby jumps into the basin of water and swims to the bottom so as not to be seen. A few hours later, when night falls, a storm terrifies Pup and he realizes that he cannot carry out this mission alone. At that moment, Julius and Myrtle are on Octo's ship waiting for the octopus to complete the machine. During the conversation, the shark asks about the scar on the turtle's shell and she tells him that, many years ago, a great white shark bigger than Julius attacked her. According to Myrtle, if it hadn't been for her husband, she would have perished that day, but instead it was he who was devoured and Myrtle has lived alone ever since. Seeing his friend's saddened countenance, the turtle says that it's not his fault that he's a shark and, even though he's a hunter, he's an important part of the ocean's natural life cycle. Suddenly, Octo opens the door to his laboratory and informs him that the machine is ready. Meanwhile, Murray and his army use the waste produced by the factory to rise to the surface and begin their reign of terror. After putting Julius and his gang inside a submarine that has been found at the bottom of the ocean, Octo presses the button to start the takeoff and the group is sent to dry land. Worried about her friend, Myrtle asks the octopus if they'll be alright and Octo says that, worst case scenario, they've gotten rid of their biggest predator. On hearing this, the turtle says that without Julius, other even more dangerous creatures could appear and put them in danger. Then Sting appears and informs them that the reef is under attack. When it reaches its destination, Julius and the fish control the machine's mechanical arms and legs to make it walk on the ground. However, when they see the robotic monster approaching, the chickens panic and try to run away, believing that the creature is there to devour them. Hearing the commotion outside the warehouse, Pup soon suspects that the humans are approaching and, just then, witnesses the birth of some of his brothers. He then begins to think of a plan to get them out. Meanwhile, outside, some roosters decide to take on the robot and band together to protect their family from the enemy's clutches. Terrified and unable to understand the reason for the attack, Julius and the fish decide to flee and, after stumbling over some coconuts, they try to continue their mission, but they can barely walk. Again, they end up falling and, this time, several coconuts that were at the top of a palm tree end up falling into the submarine, causing a crack in the glass. After passing all his siblings into a bathtub with wheels, Pup pushes the vehicle out while Julius keeps trying to outrun the birds that are after him. Luckily, the shark manages to hide inside a swamp and is thus able to lose them. Suddenly, the two young men who captured the eggs enter the warehouse and intend to steal them. However, when they get there, they find the tanks empty and are shocked to see Pup pushing a basin with the little ones out. Luckily, after getting out, Pup manages to lock the people inside the warehouse and goes on his way. After leaving the swamp, Julius and the fish meet a crab and ask him to help them find Pup. The animal then says that he will take them to the baby, but first they need to help him knock over some coconuts. After fulfilling his part of the bargain, Julius asks the crab to show him the way so that he can find his friend. Just then, the roosters appear again and use a fishing net to catch the shark. Meanwhile, Pup is still trying to take his brothers out to sea, but as he is pushing the tank alone over a long distance, he gets exhausted and has to stop to rest. As he looks ahead to see how far he has to go, he realizes that he is almost at the ocean and this renews his energy to keep pushing. On the other hand, Julius and his gang are in a bad way because, after capturing them, the roosters decide to push the submarine down a hill in an attempt to lead them straight into the clutches of the humans. In the warehouse, the two young men keep trying to unlock the door, but are surprised by the arrival of their boss, who accuses them of stealing the eggs. Just as he's about to give up on reaching the sea, Pup receives a visit from Myrtle, who helps him pull up the tank. Furious at the loss he has suffered, the owner of the fishery plans to take all his anger out on the boys and attacks them. Quickly, the pair try to escape from the warehouse, at which point they come across a shark trapped inside the submarine. When he sees the animal, the man rejoices again, because he realizes that he is looking at something even more valuable than those eggs. After helping his brothers return to the sea, Pup is relieved and says he can't wait to tell Julius every detail of their adventure. Upon hearing this, Myrtle and Octo decide to tell the baby the truth, but are interrupted by a crab who informs them that Julius has been captured by humans. The man wants to exhibit the shark in his restaurant, making it an attraction to attract more customers and make him famous. When he discovers that his friend has come out of the sea to rescue him, Pup runs back to the warehouse and ends up meeting the three roosters on the way. Noticing that the little one is willing to risk his life to save a friend, Heather decides to help him and discovers that Julius didn't go there to eat them, but to rescue Pup. Repentant for having delivered the shark into human hands, the three roosters also offer to accompany Pup on his rescue mission. After leaving the little ones safe on the reef, Myrtle and Octo swim to the bottom to investigate why the fish are running away. At that moment, they realize that the entire ocean is being polluted with a dark substance that is harmful to sea creatures. Suddenly, Sting approaches and informs them that the beings from the deep have already reached the reef. If nothing is done, everyone will soon be eliminated. When they find Julius, Pup and his new friends realize that he is being watched and need to come up with a plan to get him out of there as soon as possible, as Pup can't breathe out of the water for long. When he discovers that the toxic substance is coming from the factory, Octo thinks of a way to block those pipes and, while he can't do that, he starts a battle against the army of crabs. The octopus is surrounded and about to be captured when Myrtle appears and uses her shell to knock down all the enemies. Just then, the moray eel appears and attacks the turtle, who is saved by Sting. According to Myrtle, Julius is the only one who can defeat the abyssal beings, but until the shark arrives, Octo says he has a plan to slow them down. While the two young humans take a nap, Pup breaks into the warehouse and enters the submarine. At that moment, the crab uses its claws to cut the ropes holding the shark and accidentally wakes up the teenagers. When they try to stop him, the boys are attacked by the roosters, who manage to distract them while the fish are preparing to escape. However, just as they are about to leave the warehouse, the fisherman appears with a harpoon and threatens to shoot them. However, the man is attacked by the crab and misses his target, so Julius finds a way to escape. After the shark leaves the warehouse, the fisherman keeps trying to catch it, but is stopped by the crustacean, which throws a plate at his head. At this point, he knocks over a lamp and accidentally sets the place on fire. While the man tries to free himself, the fish manage to escape, but are once again pursued by the humans. The man uses a quad bike to chase the shark, then the youngsters get on their motorcycles and speed off into the forest. When Pup and his friends are about to reach the beach, the fisherman manages to catch up with them, so the roosters decide to take action. The birds plan to separate the trio and one of the boys ends up being knocked off his bike. While he's trying to recover from the fall, his friend is attacked and only the fisherman manages to continue the chase. However, when he picks up the harpoon to try and bring down the submarine, the crab decides to intervene and manages to slow him down, but ends up being knocked onto the sand. Seeing that their friend has been injured by the human, the other crustaceans unite to fight back and wait patiently until the fisherman passes under a palm tree. At this point, the animals jump on top of the quadricycle with the aim of knocking it off, but they are also thrown onto the beach. The team is only a few meters away from reaching the sea, but the submarine is almost out of fuel and they need to slow down. Just then, the fisherman manages to reach them and knocks over the shark, which collapses. Seeing his friend unconscious, Pup despairs and lunges at the human, but is thrown away and feels completely helpless as he sees Julius chained up. The battle seemed to be lost when an army of crabs approached and surrounded the man. When he realizes that Pup is in trouble, the shark gathers the strength to react and, after knocking the man down, joins the army to defeat him. However, the fisherman catches the baby and decides to use it to keep those animals away. After returning to the vehicle, he drives back to the warehouse and decides to take Pup in order to attract Julius. While the shark tries to save his friend, Octo and Spinny use the large metal spheres they found at the bottom of the sea to block the pipes and stop that black liquid from continuing to pollute the water. During the chase, the fisherman ends up letting Pup escape and Julius manages to rescue him. Then, once again, the human tries to shoot him with a harpoon and, distracted by the steering wheel, ends up in an accident. His vehicle drives onto a bridge and crashes into the factory, causing a huge explosion. Just then, Julius and his friends are blown by the wind and fly over the ocean. At the sight of Octo and Myrtle, Pup jumps into the water and is followed by the shark, who opens the door of the flying submarine and manages to get out. After the accident, the fisherman crawls back to the beach and ends up being arrested, along with the teenagers who worked for him. When he is warned about the invasion of the abyssal beings, Julius decides to take action and threatens the army of Cyrus with his pointed teeth, causing even the most feared moray eel in the ocean to back down. A few days later, all of Pup's siblings are born and Julius adopts them as members of his family, just as he did with Pup. Now that the family group has grown up, Octo, Spinny and Myrtle decide to help look after the little ones and teach them how to survive in the ocean. Meanwhile, Julius and Pup ensure their safety by preventing predators from approaching the reef. After helping a group of fish to survive on dry land, the three fearless roosters decide to use their old submarine to explore the depths of the ocean and discover places where no bird has ever been before. So what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below. And if you liked the video, like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you next time.